One thing you have to understand about yourself and about humans in general is that the art changes the artist, the work changes the worker, the craft changes the craftsperson. Things you decide to do, the things you decide to focus on, the things you decide to do well change you. We think that we are operating on something outside of us and we are changing it and we are molding it and we are making it. But that's just our ego because we want to feel significant. We want to feel like we are making a dent, we are making an impact, we are making a difference. And sure, you do change the external world through your actions. But what you don't understand, what very few people understand, is that your actions are changing you. So let's take the example of a PM who writes awesome status updates. This PM just writes really exceptional status updates and sends them out every Friday. In the beginning, it just started as something they wanted to do because somebody asked them to do it or somebody told them that needs to be done or every team needs to do it. And now they decided to put a lot of attention into it. And they decided to add a lot of information, a lot of charts, a lot of user feedback, whatever it is, right? And they sent it out once, twice. All of a sudden, people said, oh, this is an awesome status update. I love it. Maybe they added some humor in there, some funny shit in there. And people are like, can't wait. I look forward to Thursdays or Fridays because I can read these status updates you send over. So that is your art, the status update, okay? And you think you have created this art. But now what happens? You start getting all these kudos. At some point, the CEO says, oh, Bob sends amazing status updates. Maybe the CEO says that at all hands. How good does that feel? If you're Bob, it feels really good. It feels amazing. Everybody's slacking you at that point. Oh my God, Bob, can't believe they mentioned your name. Awesome, congrats. Your manager will announce on the team Slack. Awesome to hear our CEO, Alice, mention Bob, plus 100. I also love Bob's status updates. Manager is slightly jealous and envious, but obviously being a good manager, they won't express that. Now you go, wow, this feels good. This feels so good. The fact that all my colleagues, my manager, my CEO is saying my status update is awesome, that means I must be doing the right thing. Naturally, what else can you think here? So now what do you do next week for your next week status update? Because now the expectations are set here. The base expectations were here. But now for you, the expectations are set here. So what do? On Wednesday, you're starting to think about that status update. You better make it a good status update. And given that this is the art that you've chosen to now improve, you're going to add even more, whatever the company needs. Every company has a certain implicit culture. Oh, we love numbers, or we love user anecdotes, or we love when every PM provides a detailed roadmap, or we love it when every PM provides status on the current sprint, whatever the fuck it is. Every company has some expectations of what you are supposed to do or what you are supposed to present in order to be perceived as a competent PM. You being a savvy PM now, Bob, you know what that is. So you lean into that. Now you make a better status update and more kudos. And over time, a matter of just a few weeks, what happens is you, the artist, you have changed. The way you have changed is you attribute now a disproportionate degree of importance to status updates as a marker, as an indicator of your competence as a PM. This is where it goes wrong for you. Remember, you did not decide to do what I'm about to say. It just happens because the art has changed the artist. It has changed an aspect of your identity. So now, many decisions that you are making, that you are assisting in throughout the course of any project, which has hundreds, sometimes thousands of micro decisions, you are now starting to run that through the filter of how will this look in my Friday status update? So that's where you will try to nudge the team towards a direction which lets you live one more week, survive one more week. Even though the example I use is like, maybe you ought to have delayed this launch, which is supposed to happen on Thursday, because quality is not great or whatever the case might be, but you don't because you feel like your Friday status update cannot say, oh, unfortunately, we had to push the launch date to whatever. So using your charm as a PM, you convince the team that, no, let's just launch on Friday. Again, I'm not saying you explicitly do this, but this is how you get impacted. And so you have to choose what you start associating your identity with. By the way, if you're in a large company and this product is already at great scale, you'd have to try hard to screw up the product. You can adopt this approach for career advancement. I'm not saying this is the wrong approach, but my point is, say you are a PM who wants to be a founder someday, who wants to build a product, a successful startup. Well, in that case, if you are going to be the product person in your future startup, right? I'm telling you, this status update thing has basically all but eliminated your chances of building a highly successful product. Because the alternative, remember, everything is about opportunity cost, right? So the alternative is maybe you build your identity around user insight. You build your identity around analytical insight, around market insight, around product sense, around user psychology, around motivation, around UX friction, whatever it is, right? There is only so much you can do. You can't say, well, I want to be a great status update person and also a great user psychology person and a user empathy person and a creative product idea person and an awesome UX person. It just doesn't happen. It is not possible. You have only one brain, so you cannot do it. This is how the art you choose changes the artist. It is a good thing that that happens. It is not a bad thing. But what I ask you to do is be very careful and thoughtful about the art you choose. If you want to attain certain levels of mastery in this product craft or pretty much any craft. Last thing I'll share on this topic is you'll notice I don't share that many stories like, oh, I was in a product review with Larry Page, and then this happened, and then he said XYZ to me, and I was nervous, and then I said something very stupid, and then blah, blah, blah. You've seen these kinds of threads, and sometimes people will say these things on podcasts. These threads get shared a lot, and these podcast clips get shared a lot. You'll notice I don't do that in my writing. Is it because I don't have these stories? Of course not. I have stories and experiences that will entertain you for months and years. But notice the word I used, entertain. They are merely entertainment. And in most cases, they are teaching you the wrong lessons. Why do we even like these stories? Have you ever thought about that? Why do so many people like these kinds of stories? Like, oh, I was in a room with Zuck and Zuck said this and then blah, blah. My manager told me this and a lesson I learned is like the power of thinking big and whatever else. 5,000 likes. 15,000 likes. Why do you think people like this stuff? Think about that, talking about learning from a unit of content. Now, the normal answer that gets shared is like, well, we as humans evolved to love stories. Okay, sure. But I give that answer 3 out of 10, maybe 5 out of 10. Not more than that. The deepest reason why we like these stories is because for a moment, these stories make us feel like I was in that room with Zuck, or was in that room with Larry Page, or was in that room with Steve Jobs. And we love that feeling. We love that feeling of feeling close to some legend in whatever way we can through the words of this person who happened to be a mid-level manager or executive at the company. We feel like we're getting some secret sauce. This is why people love being in these meetings, like wherever the CEO is there, they want to be a fly on the wall, right? Like how many of us want to be a fly on the wall? And we tell our manager, oh, can I be a fly on the wall in these meetings? This is the same reason. We feel important, right? Now, most of us don't want to admit that's why we love it. We'll have some very awesome explanation, analytical explanation. Garbage. That's another pile of garbage getting in the way of clear thinking. Why do I say all this? The point being that if I write these types of stories, the art changes the artist. I will change. And net, I will be less useful to you. And net, I will be a less happy person. And I have the ability to know that in advance. That thread that I write about a story with Patrick Collison, where he sent some somewhat negative feedback about me to my manager and how I then turned the whole thing around afterwards. That story guaranteed will get more than 10,000 likes because I'll craft it so, but it will actually make me a worse writer. It will actually make me more hungry for engagement, which then will prompt me to write some other shit that's similar, which will then occupy my brain with all of this garbage. And so that is what this means. I would easily have 600,000 or more followers on Twitter if I just wrote a bunch of these stories. But that is not the point. And by the way, this is not some sacrifice I'm making. That's not what you should think. I'm doing it for me, for selfish reasons. I'm not doing it for you first. I'm doing it for me first. So understand that.